Hello. Did you know that for a lot of companies, timesheeting isn't only about billing the client, it's also a key performance metric. Managers often use them not only to see how much time is billed to the end clients, but also to see how utilized a consultant is. Hello, today I will show you how you can use the timesheeting app in the most efficient way in your company to improve your reporting tool. I'm Axel, business analyst at Odoo, and here you can find a QR code where you can ask your questions. The demo company of today is a consulting company. So in my consulting company, my consultants are staffed on various projects like IT implementations, audit, business analysis, and so on. The key need is that employees can encode their time on different tasks and this across different projects. Why? Because the managers need to approve these entries and generate the correct invoice to the end client. In the use case of today, we will use Philotex. Philotex is our customer and an accounting firm. Philotex would like to have a consultant to do a proper business analysis of their workflow. They would like to improve their workflow and so would like to have an opinion. In this use case, I will show you how we can assign a consultant to a specific task, in this case, a business analysis. The different ways to encode time, so how can our employee encode his time on this project, how to send a correct invoice to the end client, and most importantly, how we can report on this. So, we receive a request from Philotex and our workflow looks like this. First, we will create a sale order with the consulting hours that are needed. For the business analysis of Philotex, we need approximately 10 hours. After this, a project will be created with our task. We will then assign our employee to the specific task, and he will be able to log his time. I will show you how this is done in Odoo. So, first, we will create a sale order. Here, I'm going to add Philotex, and I'm going to add a product, the consulting hours. We said that approximately it would take 10 hours. When I'm going to confirm the sale order, a project will be created automatically. How is this done? If we go to our product again, we can see that on create order, a project and a task will be created. This is this configuration on the product. So I will confirm my sale order and I see here the smart buttons above that a project is created and a task. When I go to my project, I can change the name. So let's call it Philotex Business Analysis. I will be the project manager as I'm Mitchell admin. I can add a task, business analysis. Okay. And I can also see that our task is created. Now, to show you this, I will go to the project. And here we can see that indeed a project is created. I can also see my tag, I can see my customer, and I can see that 10 hours were estimated. When I go to my project and to my task, I can see 10 hours. Now, as a manager, I need to assign an employee. So who will I assign? I will assign Mark Demo. I will add a tag maybe that this is urgent. I can even add a star, and that's it. So our employee is assigned to the specific task. Now I'm going to change the database, and now I'm signed in as Mark Demo. If I go back to my project, I can see that Mark Demo is indeed added to the task. He sees that it's urgent. He can see that he has 10 hours for this. We can even change the name of the tag if we want. It's more clear. And here we can now encode the time. So how can Mark timesheet on this project? The first way is to do it on the project itself. So we can add here that he has a call, a kickoff, for example. It took 2 hours. That's the first way to encode this time. Easy, directly on the task. What's the other way? The other way is to go to the timesheeting app. Here he can see an overview of all the project he worked on and all the tasks. Here we can add a line. When will an employee use this? We at Odoo use it often. It's because we timesheet at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, we can add a line, select our product, select our task. And I worked here for 1 hour and I had data cleaning. So that's the third way. Another way to timesheet is directly with the start and stop. This is used when we know that the next afternoon of this morning we will work on the same project the whole time. So I press start. I can also select my project. I can add a description, meeting, and I click stop. And Odoo will directly encode it. The third way is our new feature and was created for consultants that work on the same projects for different weeks of months. How can they do this? They can go to the calendar view. They can select a week. For example, this week we worked a whole week on the same project, same task. We can go to add. We can select our projects. We can select our task. And we can say that the whole week we work 3 hours every day. We can add a description, follow-up. And we can see that the whole week is added automatically, which is a huge benefit as it's less manual than it was before. So we can say that there are 4 ways to encode your time in Odoo. The first way is directly on your task. Then we have the timesheeting app where you can do it by line or by start and stop. And then we have a new feature that was really created for consultants that work on the same project for a longer time and need to timesheet fast. Now, the second part of our workflow is the following. So we sold our project, our employee timesheeted on this. We need, of course, the manager needs to approve this time to see if Mark did everything correctly, timesheeted it correctly, and then we need to send the correct invoice to our end client. After this, of course, I will show you how you can report on this, but let's first go to the invoicing. So now I'm Mitchell admin again, so the manager. I go to the project and I see, oh, Mark timesheeted more than 10 hours. Okay, that's okay. Why is it okay? Because if I go back to my sale order from here, and I go back to my hours, to my product, I can see that our invoicing policy is based on timesheet. So we will invoice our client based on the performed hours. Okay, I can go to my sale order, but I see that everything is on the delivered is 0. Why is this? Because I added in Odoo that the invoicing policy is based on validated timesheets. Here, I don't really trust my employees, so I want to do a check. I go back to my projects here. And of course, I need to approve of the timesheets on this project. How do I do this? I can go to the top bar here. And I can add some smart buttons. I can add the timesheets, the sale orders, the invoices, the vendor bills, and the dashboards. So here we can see all the tasks, timesheets, sale orders, and so on that are related to this project. For now, we need the timesheets. So I go to the timesheets. Okay, I'm the manager. Okay, this can be okay. I can select them, and I can validate it in 2 clicks. Now, if I go back to my sale order, which I can go back here or in the sale, but let's go do it here, I can see that delivered is not 0 anymore, but 17. So after validation, we can now send the correct invoice to our end clients. We create the invoice. We will do a regular invoice. We create a draft. We see that everything is okay, and we confirm. Now, it often happens that the billing is not based on timesheets, so not based on the performed hours, but it's based on a fixed price. For example, in our company, the CRM implementation is always 5 hours, even if my employee will timesheet more or less. So for example, here, my lights up, we did a CRM implementation. If I go to the sale order, again, I go to the top menu. I can see that I sold 5 hours, but the big difference, if I go to my project, is that my invoicing is prepaid fixed price. So we can see that indeed we confirmed a sale order of 5 hours, but if I go back to my projects and I go to my timesheets, I can see that Mark Demo timesheeted 4 hours. What will happen with the fixed price? We will still invoice 5 hours. like we see here. I hear your question already. Why would we do that? Why would Mark demo timesheet 4 hours if we will bill 5 hours? Reporting-wise, a lot of companies use this as reporting to see, are we setting the right price, are we setting the right hours? Now, okay, our project is done. What do I need to do as a manager? Of course, I sent the invoice, I did an improvement. Now we need to report. How can we report in Odoo? In Odoo, there are different ways to report. The first option, if you want to really report on a specific project, you can go to the project tab. I will open this project and I can go to dashboard. Again, a top menu that I added here. When I go to the dashboard, I see which tasks I did, what I timesheeted, the extra hours. So if we have a prepaid, what did we did more? The sale order items, and so on. We can also see milestones and we can see what we sold. We can even see, timesheeting-wise, if we sold it at a fixed price based on timesheets or based on milestones. What is also important here is that we can go to the cost. So how much did it cost us to send an employee there? If I click one over, for example, here, I can have an overview of what Anita, my employee, timesheeted. So we have a clear overview of what she did. If we go on her profile, we can even see what our hourly cost was for her. So if I go back to my project dashboard, I can see that this is really a big reporting tool to have a project-specific overview. We can even add a review. So for example, the September review, we can add this. We can have a status update. For example, if you have a monthly update with your manager, you can use a template and fill this in. I will now just say that we're at risk. Save it, and here we have an overview of where we were at that date. Another way to report is, of course, in our timesheeting app. Here in the timesheeting app, we can report, if we go to all timesheets, here we see all the timesheets of all our employees. But a new feature that was added is when we filter on employee. Here we can see that colors were added. So we can see that actually none of my employees added the hours that were done this week. Another way is to go to reporting, and here we can filter by employee, by project, by task, and so on. But let's filter on employee, and here we have a great overview of what every employee timesheeted every month. We can even go further and add an extra filter project. So we can see that on office design, for example, Mark demo timesheeted 8 hours in June. What we can also do is insert this in a spreadsheet. So let's do that. Do its timesheet, and I add it under sales. And here my spreadsheet is added automatically. Another way is if we go to the dashboard tab, here the timesheeting are added by default. So by default, this dashboard is already added. But as I just did, I added one myself, and we can see it here. This is customizable, so that you can make figures out of this. But so there are multiple ways to report on this. Another one is the billing targets. So if I go back to my timesheet and to my configuration and I go to billing time targets, I can see that I can add a target for every employee. So here, for example, Anita has to have a billing time target of 160 hours per month. Every employee can then, if they are timesheeting, see in the right corner here how their target is doing. So, if I go back to my slides, to sum up, we can say that indeed the timesheeting in version 19 improved. We have a better visual overview of our employee, and we have the multi-creation view that will spare a lot of time for a lot of employees that are working on a project for a longer period. To conclude, we can say that indeed timesheeting is not only about billing the target, but it's also the perfect tool to have an in-house evaluation. Thank you. You can scan the QR code for your questions. And coming up, I know it's Saturday afternoon, but the topics related to timesheeting you can watch online, and these are the 3 talks after us. Thank you.
Okay. Can I change? Can I change the manager who approves the timesheets of certain employees?
Yes, you can change the manager that approves the timesheets. I will show you can do this on the employee. So for example, Abigail, if you go to settings, to let me see. Timesheet, sorry, here. We can change the approver. So now, for example, here, Mitchell admin is the approver for Abigail, but we can change that.
Can I customize the dashboard in the projects?
Can you customize the dashboard in the project? No, but you can customize the status updates. So that's something.
Can I change the hourly rate of employees based on the projects?
Yes, good questions. This you can do on your project directly. So for example, this one, if I go to settings and I go to invoicing, here we can see that it's already done in this the demo database. We can see that Anita has another hourly price than, for example, Ronnie. But this is project specific that you should edit.
Can I remove the approval?
You can remove the approval. Like I said, you can go to configuration settings, and here you can change your invoicing policy. Yes.
Can I work with project templates?
You can work with project templates. Let me see if I have one here. I do. For example, audits. Imagine you're consulting. Yeah, your consultant is doing an audit somewhere. So you want to create a project from scratch. Then I can select this one and say audits at Odoo, for example. Abigail is my client, imagine, and all the tasks are created. So how did I do that? You can go to project here, settings, and then you can make a template out of this. And then it's selectable for further project creation.
Can I take a screenshot of my dashboard?
Can I take a screenshot of my dashboard? Yes, of course. You can always take, you mean this here? Probably. Yeah, you can take a screenshot of your dashboards.
What if my estimated time on a project is changed?
Two options. You can just change it directly on your project. So here you allocated time. So the 10 hours here are from my initial sale order, but you can change it here. But if you change it here, it will not change on your sale order. So you should, if you want to build a client correctly, change it on your sale order.
Perfect, we're done.
Okay, thank you.